Okay, one of the first things I like to do before starting any project is just to get all my stuff figured out. I'm thinking I might have to rewire some things, so I did get some of those in case I need to shorten the gyro wires or anything like that. Got some crimpers and some new plugs there. Took out the frame, got the thread lock there. You know, every T-Rex kit I've ever gotten has had this problem. Threadlock leaks out all over the place. At least they put it in a bag this time. But I think I'm gonna maybe use the other Threadlock. I don't know. I'll clean this up and use this instead. But got my little pitch gauge adapter here and little tools that came with the thing. I got some other tools as well. These are the little tiny parts, all the little ball links and stuff like that. I put the reason they're in two separate boxes is they were in two separate bags in the kit, and I want to keep them separate. They were probably separated for some reason, so I've got one box of those, and I've got another box, some ball links and stuff in there. These are just boxes from the Align ESC and motor from an SA kit that I had. And then I took my little divided storage thing and I put all the parts in here. If something was in one bag, then I put it in one slot here, so you can see tail parts, you know, everything kind of laid out so I can get to it, and I don't have to mess around with opening bags, all that stuff. I think that just helps me stay a little bit more organized and gives me easy access to everything. There's all the flybar parts together in one piece. Pieces that are too long I set up there. I got a nice sort of clean area to start with. I got my manual handy. That one's close. It sure feels like they put Threadlock on there. It's in there pretty tight. Okay, I can't even move that, so nix that idea. There's obviously some pretty good Threadlock on there already. We'll check that periodically while you're flying. Always a good idea every few flights to pull that off and pull the blades off and check to make sure the feathering shaft's not going to fly out on you. There's the head, and I'm going to start with that bit first. It needs to have the flybar cage and flybar attached to it, and got the flybar cage here, and it's been partly assembled already, but it's not tightened down, so I'm going to take all of these apart, put the thread lock on them, and then these little fixed links are going to go on there. These are the links that came in the same bag as the flybar cage. So, and it looks like that one is, those bolts are the size of the little tool that they gave you. Okay, so I put the little linkages on there. They are kind of tight. They shouldn't probably be that tight, but I'm sure they'll loosen up a little bit while flying. There's no ball link sizer tool that I can get this small, I don't think. So just gonna have to use them this way. Have more Threadlock trouble. Since this Threadlock container leaked so badly, it doesn't have anything left in it. So gonna have to use my trusty hardware store Threadlock that I use pretty much on everything. So I think that'll be fine. Oh, by the way, Jazzy's Threadlock trick here. I find Threadlock kind of a pain to work with, especially on small parts. So what I do is take a little bit of it, just put it on a piece of a plastic bag or something. This is some junk parts that I have lying around. So using those for weight to hold the bag down, and then I'll put just a dot of that. Then another trick is I put a little bit of, that's a magnet from a brushless outrunner motor. So I put that on the end of the tool, and that makes it magnetized, so it'll hold the nuts and bolts and stuff really well. So all you have to do then is just dip the screw in the thread lock. It works really well. It's much better than trying to get it out of the tube onto the screw. Alright, first thing you gotta really be careful about, make sure you get these things straight. You can just eyeball this, but it's pretty easy to tell if you've got them straight or not. Check this every time you do either side. I do two sides first, and then I grab both sides and tighten down both sides. And that'll help me so I don't get it twisted when I do the other side. So, you know, if you just line it up with your eye like that, you can see if it's straight or not. Okay, this should be pretty easy to figure out, but I'm going to mention it. There's two sort of rods like this, little threaded rods in the kit, and the one that's the flybar is a little thicker and shorter. So, you know, just make sure you get the right one. Flybar, short one. This is going to be the tail push rod. It's going to be the long one. So you'll notice if you try to stick the tail push rod through the flybar cage, it's going to be extremely loose. It's not going to work right. And this one goes ahead, fits on there pretty tight. You're going to want to loosen the set screws before you put this on, but it needs to go through the head and everything first. So go ahead and do that. You got to put this flybar cage on here over all this other junk. So just be careful you get it up there. It goes on the seesaw. The seesaw is going to be this part that goes up and down like that. And the flybar itself actually goes through that hole there. So just pull it up, line it up. Fits pretty tight. Again, Align stuff is always really well made, well engineered. So it's going to fit in there pretty tight. You kind of got to hold everything together. So what I'm going to do is, for the time being, just going to slip the flybar through here. And I'm not actually going to tighten the set screws yet. Kind of wondering if this flybar is actually bent, because as I push it through, there's some spots where it sticks. Doesn't exactly go through there smoothly. So hopefully it's nice and straight. Just gonna eyeball it and get it close to center, and then I'll measure it later. So that's how it goes through, just like that, through the seesaw like that. Okay, and then there's set screws right here, which I'm going to take out, put a little thread lock on them. Go ahead and screw them down later after I've measured the distance here and make sure it's exactly the same to both ends. Okay. So these short little ball links, the other fixed length ball links that are in there, these are the ones that goes from the blade grip to the mixing arm. They go on the short side of the mixing arms on the head and go up to the grips from there. So make sure that you get this all oriented properly before you stick this together. The way I do that is by looking at the diagram in the book, and I'm just going to set everything exactly like it is in the diagram of the book. And you can actually get this backwards. It's preventing me from flipping the grips, but you can get this backwards. So make sure you line it up just like the exploded view in the book there, and go ahead and pop these ball links on. That is most of the assembly of the head. Got the washout bits there, the flybar, gripped links, mixing arm links here. There are 2 more links that need to go on here, and those are the ones that are going to go from the long side of the mixing arm right here. So go from the long side of the mixing arm down to the swash plate. Okay, the next step for building the head is just to assemble these little ball links here. Measurements are given in the manual as 14 millimeters from the base of the link, from the bottom of the link here to the bottom of the other link. They also give the center to center measurements, but those are really kind of hard to see sometimes. So these are pretty easy to put together. Just screw them on by hand. One thing to watch for is make sure you don't get them cross-threaded. I did that on one of my TRX 450 links, and I could never get it on right after that, and so had to replace that one. So just be careful when you put these on. They'll go together pretty easily. Okay, on these 2 ball links that you have to make for the mixing arms, the measurement's 14 millimeters from the inner edge of each link, you know, from right there to right there. But the most important part is to make sure that they are exactly the same. Okay? If you don't get these exactly the same, you're going to have tracking issues. You may have tracking issues anyway, but if you get these off from each other, then you're definitely going to have problems. So make sure you get these exactly the same. One turn on these is like 1/2 millimeter, so you really got to eyeball it carefully. Go ahead and get out your calipers or whatever if you want. Make sure you get those right. And the other issue on these is you want to make sure that you get them at right angles to each other. So, you know, one link is straight and the other one, they're at right angles to each other. And pay attention to the little A. There's a tiny little A marked on these, and that is the outside of the link. So, just like the other Align ball links. So pay attention to orientation. If you get them, the orientation correct and everything else close, you should have the exact measurement also correct. Okay, so you're going to have to put the swash plate on there. In order to do that, I did have to take the little collar off and the washer and screw from the bottom of the shaft. So swash plate, just slide over the shaft. Should move real nice. And then just so I don't lose them, I'm going to go ahead and put the collar back on and a little screw on the bottom. You can just hand thread that bottom one. It's pretty handy. So, the reason you have to do that is because you got to put these linkages on here. I like to go ahead and do the washout arms first. So, the little washout arms, just gonna slip onto the Swashplate, opposite sides of each other. So again, you can just push those on by hand. Again, remember the orientation of these little links. Make sure that you get them on with the little A to the outside. Okay. Put these little linkages on here. Okay. Pitch mixing links, everything all set up. It's a little bit tight as I move this up and down. It's a little bit tight, but I think I'll put some tri-flow on here and we'll fly a little bit, and that'll probably loosen up. So that is the mechanical mess that we call a Bell-Hiller mixing head. You can see it goes up and down, it changes the pitch of the blades, and with everything running on here, you'll see it changes also the flybar and so on. So again, same as Trex 450s and so on. So make sure it all works real good. Next thing to do is to measure the distance from here to here on the flybar. Make sure you've got it on the same on both sides. Once you get it the same on both sides, you can tighten those little set screws right there. Put some Threadlock on there, tighten those down, and you'll be good to go, ready to screw on the flybar paddles. Alright, just one thing that I like to do on these is when screwing on the flybar paddles, it's pretty tempting to just grab a hold of the flybar cage and twist down here, but I think that, you know, when you're assembling, this stuff might not, Loctite might not be tight and so on, might not be dried, so what I do is I just hold it with a plier and try to make sure that it doesn't twist, you know, and that makes sure that I'm actually just screwing the flybar paddles onto the flybar and not twisting the flybar around in the seesaw or anything like that. You don't have to do that, but I think it just results in a, you know, less chance for error there. Distance here is 49.5 millimeters from this side to this side, from the edge of the flybar cage to the edge of the paddle. So I'm going to use that measurement, get them both the same on each side. Alright, I don't know if there's a tool to do this or not, but one thing that's really important on all helicopters is making sure that the flybar cage and the paddles themselves are actually parallel to each other, parallel to the cage itself. It'd be nice if there was a tool for this, but I just eyeball it. I line it up just like that, with the trailing edge pointing at the little screw in the flybar cage. You should be able to see that pointing at the screw there, and the center of the little airfoil shape pointed at the screw on the other side. So should be fairly easy to eyeball that. If your flybar cage is straight, and if both paddles are straight, see, that one's a little off, I think. But if it's all straight, then the flybar paddles themselves should be parallel to each other. So eyeball that, mess around with it until you get it exactly right. If you hold, the farther away you hold it from yourself, the easier it is to see. So, you know, close one eye maybe, sight that down, make sure you get that right. Alright, so that is the assembled head of the Trex 250. Things to note: make sure your flybar paddles are parallel to each other into the flybar cage itself. Get Loctite on all the parts. Pretty straightforward so far. So there you have it. That's the tiny little CCPM bell hiller head